OCN Volume 26 Number 4, April 4, 2026, highlights. This podcast presents concise summaries of each of the articles and columns in this issue of OCN in the order they appeared in the paper. For details, please refer to the articles and columns, which are posted at ocn.me. The latest update confirms Buc-ee's plans a 74,000 square foot travel center on the west side of I-25 and County Line Road with a 25 to 35 acre parking area and about 120 fueling spots, projecting around 11,000 weekday vehicle exits and entrances and up to more traffic on weekends and holidays. Recent developments include Monument Ridge West, MRW, withdrawing its annexation application to Palmer Lake, an administrative boundary line adjustment adding 10 acres south of the MRW property, stockpiled fill dirt, 2 well permits filed, with no county travel center permit filed yet. Zoning and land use context show surrounding areas zoned for residential and rural uses, with a small CC zone on part of the travel center site. Officials anticipate Buc-ee's may argue the project fits within a limited retail/service allowance of the master plan. Water supply planning centers on competing rules, the state's 100-year rule for aquifer sustainability versus the county's stricter 300-year rule for subdivisions, with MRW consultant Vertex arguing the travel center should fall under the 100-year rule. Public services would shift to County Sheriff's Office, Monument Police, Monument Fire District, and Monument Sanitation District if the project proceeds, and a number of permits and approvals remain unresolved at the county level. In short, Buc-ee's plans face ongoing zoning and regulatory hurdles with potential significant impacts on traffic, water use, and public services, and community action remains active as opposition pursues further legal review. The Palmer Lake Board of Trustees moved to negotiate with a second law firm after the first firm withdrew its proposal amid staff concerns, while ongoing efforts to hire legal counsel faced internal disputes and disclosure questions. The board ultimately directed staff to pursue an agreement with WHF after a failed vote favoring JVAM, with subsequent controversy over Attorney Findley's disclosure of prior contacts and a decision to reopen negotiations with JVAM if fees are reduced. WHF withdrew its proposal following a special meeting and the town's recommendation to withdraw, with WHF stating it disclosed contacts promptly and interpreted the RFP requirements differently. Separately, the Buc-ee's annexation withdrawal request moved closer to completion as Dietz and Davis prepared to finalize the town's acceptance of the withdrawal. 3 Planning Commission vacancies remained unfilled despite applications from Shauna Ball, Kent Hudson, and Susan Miner, with board votes split on proceeding to appointment without trustees Jerka and Beltran present. The town received a clean, unmodified audit for 2024 from Hinkle and Company. CPAs, noting proper segregation of duties and no material weaknesses, while addressing questions to complete a follow-up discussion on a specific amount. The next regular board meetings are scheduled for April 9 and 23, with workshop and meeting details available on the town website. The board opened with music recognitions, highlighting Sam Anderson as Outstanding Young Music Educator and noting multiple students named to All-State Jazz Choir, Regional Honor Band, and Western Slope Honor Choir, with performances and plaques/certificates for honorees. A multi-use athletic complex proposal for the Grace Best site was reviewed, proposing a joint district foundation venture to secure grants and oversee construction, demolition/remediation of Grace Best, and long-term lease of the site. The March 16 meeting advanced the plans for the athletic complex plan with a resolution to explore the partnership, while clarifying plans remained subject to approvals, community input, and appropriate processes. No commitment was made yet. Funding and budget details were presented for 2026 to 27, with projected enrollment decline of 164 students and flat $11,125 per pupil revenue, signaling about a $2 million funding reduction. Capital investments are planned at about $2.5 million, and health benefit costs could rise up to 17%, prompting staffing and program reductions of roughly 30 to 35 positions district-wide. Student representatives Keegan Mallory and Claire Monroe reported on activities and organizations at Palmer Ridge High School, with their presentations available on board docs. The Monument Academy Board moved to refinance up to $50 million in bonds, reducing the max interest rate from 8% to 6% and aiming to issue at investment-grade rates based on ratings expected by end of March. The refinancing would refund about $44.8 million in 2014 and 2019 bonds and generate an estimated $4.65 million for construction at the secondary campus, with closing targeted for late April ahead of a June 1 maturity. If not rated investment grade, MA may choose a 10-year fixed rate with 30-year amortization, whereas if investment grade is achieved, a 30 to 35-year structure is anticipated. Ownership of both East and West campuses would be placed under a single building corporation to simplify leases and strengthen bondholder collateral, with new covenants tied to cash reserves and debt coverage ratios. The board recessed to approve related actions with Monument Academy Building Corporation and Monument Academy Foundation, which passed resolutions on refunding bonds and transferring property between entities. Progress on the 2025-26 strategic plan was reported, including professional development framework completion, induction processes, and ongoing curriculum alignment efforts, with policy updates and upcoming actions noted. At its March 12 meeting, Monument Academy announced a special unveiling event for March 18 at the East Campus Gym to showcase fine arts performances. The unveiling included performances from Shakespeare and Newsies, highlighting the school's commitment to arts education as part of the Legacy in Motion campaign. A donor gift fully funding the auditorium was announced by Executive Director Colin Vinchattel, identifying the Lundeen family and Lise Richard as contributors and signaling support for an East Campus expansion. Board President Ryan Graham reported via the MA Facebook page that anonymous donors contributed a $17 million gift to build a 750-seat performing arts center at the East Campus. The $17 million donation is noted as the largest publicly recorded private gift to a K-12 Colorado public school. The Legacy in Motion campaign is also pursuing an academic wing and gymnasium. MA aims to complete track and field facilities to match the new theater and will be ready to break ground once the final permit is received. Monument Town Council unanimously approved Annexation Ordinance 04-2026 for the Beacon Light Road water tank site, following unanimous findings of fact and conclusions for Resolution 17-2026. The planning director confirmed all findings were completed and the annexation process proceeded with a 7-0 vote in favor. Public Works introduced Ordinance 03-2026 to prohibit gray water treatment works, with language to be expanded to include the service area. A public hearing was continued to March 16. The Council approved the Respect Master Service Agreement for $532,899 to support construction of the Beacon Light Road Pipeline and Monument Hill Water Tank projects, citing urgency due to deterioration of the existing Monument Hill tank. The town adopted the International Fire and Wildfire Resiliency Code and other related code updates, health and safety, municipal court scheduling, gray water prohibition, with unanimous votes. Additional items included confirmation of a 2-seat representation on the Fountain Creek Watershed District Board, a contest to rename a road segment, and upcoming community events such as the annual awards dinner on April 2 and the Taste of Tri-Lakes Cares on May 13. The Monument Planning Commission recommended approval of the Alpine Buick GMC dealership project, including a final plat and final planned unit development for a 12.5-acre site at Falcon Commerce Center, with 2 buildings and a landscaping plan to screen most of the lot while keeping visibility for vehicle displays. Building A is planned to face Terrazzo Drive for strong street frontage, while Building B, housing service and parts, will be set back. Drainage and site design were verified to meet Monument and Colorado Springs criteria. For the Alpine project, engineering plans were confirmed compliant with applicable standards, and landscaping aims to balance town requirements with business needs. The Commission also recommended approval, 3-1, for a final plat and rezoning of the Monument Fire Training Facility at 18650 West Highway 105 featuring a classroom/garage and a 4-story training tower. Commissioner John Parr cast the sole dissenting vote on the fire facility, citing concerns about proximity to residential areas and the impact on long-term residents' enjoyment of the area. A future workshop is planned to establish design standards for metal structures to maintain Monument's visual character, with the next Planning Commission meeting set for April 8. The Monument Fire District announced a groundbreaking for Fire Station 3, a quit-claim deed approved for 15,000 Sun Hills Drive, and concerns raised about the Station 1 Training Center Tower. The quit-claim deed authorizes transferring the Sun Hills property back to former board director Charles Fleece so the district can discontinue retaining it, citing recent water line issues and high maintenance costs. Fire Station 3 construction is expected to take about 12 months with Flintco LLC to proceed within 2 weeks, following the March groundbreaking at 17320 Jackson Creek Parkway. Residents raised questions about the Station 1 Training Center Tower, with details on Class A versus Class B burns and smoke concerns. District officials outlined planned live fire and simulated training, including use of LED boards and theatrical smoke. The district reported a mid-year financial snapshot, about $1 million income, 4.12% of 2026 budget, $3.466 million expenses, 15.77% of budget, and total funds around $32 million, with leadership noting delayed property tax revenue and equipment purchases. The board confirmed ongoing executive recruitment for a fire chief and highlighted staff training recognitions, including Chief Fire Officer designation for Janaka Brandon and accreditation-related training for Brandon and Division Chief of Community Risk Reduction Jonathan Bradley. A life-saving award ceremony was held in the apparatus bay at Station 1. Forester Dave Root emphasizes active forest management and fuels reduction to reduce wildfire risk, noting that proper management leads to healthier forests and fewer dangerous conditions. He points to a century of fire suppression creating unnaturally dense forests, with Palmer Lake example showing transformation from sparse trees in 1880 to thick, unhealthy stands today. Root explains that wildfires are natural, but accumulation of fuels and homes within the trees amplify risk. Selective removal yields an open forest of vigorous trees. The best defense against mountain pine beetle (MPB) is a healthy, well-spaced forest. Overcrowded or stressed trees invite beetle attacks and associated blue stain fungus. MPB treatments are limited to tree removal, mechanical methods, or solar treatments. Infected trees should be handled carefully to avoid spreading the problem. The Woodmoor Water and Sanitation District approved supplemental water for the Mines Shopping Center, MSC, and discounted an $8,481 overage invoice tied to equipment failure at a new tenant, with MSC also seeking to purchase additional supplemental water. The board unanimously approved selling MSC the requested 0.5 acre-foot of supplemental water for $17,250 per year and covering $4,625 in lost option costs, offsetting MSC's liability by about $3,857. WWSD agreed to purchase Monument Fire District's building at 1855 Woodmoor Drive for $1.26 million and approved a separate supplemental water agreement to supply the new fire station on Jackson Creek Parkway at 2.7 acre-feet per year for $104,138 annually. The board vacated a flowage easement for the North Bay at Woodmoor Development and extended Apollo's Peak Solar LLC's lease for a 60-day extension to draft new terms, ensuring any transfers remain within lease provisions. Monument Junction Metropolitan District, MJMD, was allowed to defer payment on its supplemental water agreement until December 2026 due to delays in development and price differentials, with the district noting improved clarity on commercial progress. Financials showed January water sales beating budget projections, 5.16% versus 2%, with tap fees also surpassing estimates, 12.5% versus 6%, while warmer winter conditions contributed to more line breaks. The Monument Sanitation District reported a higher than usual number of delinquent account notices in March, with 115 notices issued. Delinquencies largely stemmed from customers not updating automatic payments after the monthly charge increased from $40 to $45 over a year ago, leading to late fees for those accounts. Only one customer is contesting the late fees, claiming improper notification of the increase. The district addressed a maintenance item at its headquarters by replacing the air intake for the Black Forest Foods Cafe and Deli furnace with a sheet metal duct to improve cleaning and grease management. Coordination continues on Beacon Light Road work, with ongoing meetings between utility providers and El Paso County. DWSD is considering a debt-increasing project package, including Northern Monument Creek Interceptor, NMCI, participation, which would require voter approval and could raise annual costs, with more details to be refined by the next board meeting. Financial trends show revenues and expenses are tracking to budget for water and wastewater, with a clear downward trend in water sales as customers reduce usage and adopt xeriscaping. Capital projects, NMCI participation would cost about $90 million total with DWSD's share around $11 million, plus National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA, permitting responsibilities, rate changes and other project costs will be more clearly outlined after further analysis. 14 resumes were received for the general manager position, 4 finalists identified, and interviews scheduled for March 27 with final decisions to be made by April 7. April bills will reflect a 5% rate increase for water and wastewater. Wastewater increases average about $2 per bill. An MOU for Willow Creek Ranch fire mitigation was signed, outlining a non-binding framework and potential DWSD cost up to $140,000, with funding considerations and possible external grants to cover remaining costs. The Northern Monument Creek Interceptor project move from design to construction is approved, with about $33 million in bonds for the northern entity's portion to be presented at the May meeting and construction expected to begin in late May, aiming for completion in late 2027. Colorado Springs Utilities, CSU, will ramp up construction, with the first 6 months consuming 40% of total costs and starting from the south end of the pipeline in Colorado Springs. Water Operations Report shows 2 years of storage to meet district demands despite low snowpack. The district treats and delivers via CSU from Twin Lakes and Otero Pump Station, with a total February production of about 14.947 million gallons and non-revenue water at roughly 4.15%. Higbee Road improvements may include an acceleration lane at Jackson Creek Parkway, JCP, north from Higbee Road, requiring a cost recovery agreement and design changes coordinated by Felsberg Holt and Ullevig and Kimley Horn, with on-site Kiewit work already in place and completion targeted for November 2026. The Higbee project northern portion will be prioritized for this fiscal year, with the southern portion to be tackled during the Fire Station 3 rebuild in 2027. A full widening across JCP in 1 year isn't funded yet. Venison Creek Park's new ADA-compliant play area is installed and scheduled for additional surfacing, seating, and landscaping, with the park remaining closed for 2 to 3 weeks and a ribbon-cutting event requested after completion. The Loop Board moved from preliminary to final design for the Advanced Water Treatment Plant, awarding a detailed design contract to JVA Incorporated at the March regular meeting after a prior special meeting review. Non-disclosure agreements were approved for 4 contractors, JVA, CDM Smith, Brearley Associates LLC, and Pinion Environmental Incorporated, and authorized for use with future partners as project work continues. CDM Smith contract amendments were approved to add detail for embankment, spillway, and outlet works design, clarifying required design drawings under the contract. Western States Land Services LLC received a cost order change of $66,000 to cover the expanded easement work for 66 titles along the 52-mile pipeline from Fountain Creek to participating districts. Financial updates showed February invoices totaling $298,000 were authorized for payment, and the Loop's cash reserve stood at just over $600,000, with Q3 2025 reimbursements from the El Paso County Board of Commissioners processed. The BOCC approved temporary and permanent easements along Highway 105 Lake Woodmoor Drive to Martingale Drive for construction, drainage, slope, and access related to the Highway 105B project. Owners have accepted the MOA, and the permanent easements and special warranty deed were approved with compensation accepted. At the March 17 meeting, the BOCC approved the 2026 MOA for the Black Forest Slash and Mulch Program, operated since 1995 by Samcom to grind slash into mulch and distribute it free, with ongoing volunteer involvement. The county released a statement clarifying Buc-ee's has not submitted any development or related application in El Paso County, and noted property owners' rights and neutral board proceedings prior to hearings. A town of monument waiver was approved to allow annexation of 18.522 acres along Beacon Light Road with no service extension, district impact, or school impact, enabling the annexation. Flying Horse North rezoning was approved for a preliminary plan/planned unit development covering 299 single-family lots, with significant open space and right-of-way, located at Black Forest Road and Hodgen Road. The El Paso County Planning Commission heard 2 requests in northern El Paso County during its regular bi-monthly meetings. Red Rock Subdivision GTG Red Rock LLC sought approval of a 14.958-acre final plat creating 5 single-family lots, with minimum lot sizes of 2.5 acres and on individual wells and on-site septic systems. A continuance to March 19 was requested and granted for conditions and reports, with a hearing set for April 9 before the BOCC. PRI No. 2 LLC Care of Elite Properties of America requested rezoning of 1,499.72 acres for Flying Horse North filing No. 6 to 8 PUD to include 299 single-family lots and 4 tracts directing 91.5 acres of open space and 26.3 acres of public right-of-way. EPCPC recommended approval, noting all BOCC conditions had been met. NEPCO, representing 42 HOAs with over 10,000 homes and 20,000 voters in northern El Paso County, held its bi-monthly meeting on March 14 at the Woodmoor Barn to facilitate communication between HOAs and local government entities. The meeting included Monument Town Council and Planning Department members and featured speakers Dan Ungerlater, Monument Planning Director, and Jason Gross, Triview Board President, who discussed planning and services. Fire preparedness was highlighted by Beth Longquist, emphasizing home hardening and fuel reduction to slow wildfire spread, including mowing grasses under 4 inches and removing dead trees and limiting combustible materials around homes. Unger later provided an update on Monument's 2040 comprehensive plan, noting population growth, new neighborhoods, staff turnover, and a long-range policy for development decisions over the next 10 to 15 years. Gross explained Triview's role since 1985 in providing public services to Monument, with 2,595 current water accounts and projected growth to 3,226 single-family homes, plus about 31 full-time employees. The wastewater and water services are governed via an intergovernmental agreement and annual contracts. The Higbee Road Improvement Project began in March and is due for completion in November, featuring 2 roundabouts, a center island, pedestrian crossings, and sidewalks. The Gleneagle Civic Association Board is pursuing a court petition under CCIOA Section 217 to approve the rewritten Declaration of Covenants and Short-Term Lease Amendment, after the 2025 vote fell short of the 67% requirement. A new GCA president, Mark Connell, announced other board changes including the appointment of Ray Mickelwright as a new member. Former President Jimmy Owenby stepped down. The petitioning process, supported by Altitude Community Law, follows a failed 60% member approval in 2025 and aims to clean up the declarations and make information easier to find, though the assessment increase vote is not part of this action. The board reported property damage risks for Mountain View Electric Association fiber installations and urged affected members to file claims, with ongoing monitoring of open space activity such as motorbikes. Financial notes show a 5% assessment increase approved after the failed ballot, with 58 of 702 homeowners delinquent on payments and insurance costs rising to about $4,500 plus an umbrella policy, alongside other minor expenses. Members discussed variances records, a Rivers Oaks Palma Valley property issue, noise ordinance legislation implications, and potential goodwill collaboration for a community donations day, with details to follow. The Woodmoor Improvement Association welcomed Darren Abink as the new Woodmoor Public Safety Chief, succeeding Kevin Nielsen, who retired after 35 years of service. A resident proposed expanding dog waste stations across Woodmoor, with about 90 survey responses showing 70% in favor, though the board cited cost, practicality, and aesthetics concerns and will seek clearer estimates and approvals before moving forward. The board addressed the pace of the state wildfire mitigation reimbursement program, explaining that payments depend on state reimbursements and noting recent staffing changes as a factor in delays. Reports from officers noted potential phone system problems, possible replacement needs, and financial shifts, including softer revenues from barn rentals and project fees. Several operational items were reviewed. Covenants reported 27 items with 0 violations, high archival approval rates for architectural projects, forestry activities, and upcoming chipping days, and the notice of a destroyed Toboggan Hill picnic table requiring replacement. For the Highway 105B project, the board approved granting to the county 3 easements valued at $81,200. Pet ownership is consistently linked to better health markers, including lower blood pressure and reduced risk of cardiovascular disease, according to decades of research referenced in this month's review. The article highlights a selection of animal-themed books, noting varied stories from companionship with a cat in The Guest Cat to wild elephants in The Elephant Whisperer and rehabilitating a donkey in Running with Sherman. It provides brief overviews of each title and author, with publishing details and what the books explore about human-animal relationships and healing. It includes titles spanning memoirs, nature writing, and poetry, such as H is for Hawk, Alfie and Me, What Owls Know, What Humans Believe, and Dog Show, poems. The Palmer Divide Quiltmakers display at Monument Library extends through April, marking the program's 24th year. The Pikes Peak Library District is seeking teen volunteers for the 2026 Summer Adventure Reading Program. Applications open now and close May 1st. Eligible teens, ages 13 to 18, can apply at ppld.org under the Teen Volunteer section. Interviews and training run in April and May with limited openings at each library. Regular Monument Library programs include Storytime, Tuesday 10:30 to 11:15, Socrates Cafe, Tuesday 1 to 3, Pause to Read, Tuesday 4 to 5, and Toddler Time, WED 9:30, 11. Special events and youth activities are scheduled in April, including a tabletop role-playing game for tweens on April 4th. April teen and adult activities include teen craft group sessions, April 6th and April 20th, an Investing Basics talk for adults, April 7, and Idea Lab at Palmer Lake Library, April 9, device drop-in at Monument Library, April 16, offers tech help and catalog guidance. The month also features a Tri-Lakes Friends of the Library book group, April 23, and the Monument Fiber Arts Group, April 24, plus an all-ages open house at Palmer Lake Library on April 24 with lawn games, town events, and a volunteer fire department display. The Palmer Lake Historical Society held its March 19 membership meeting at the Palmer Lake Town Hall. The PLHS is responsible for preserving Palmer Divide history and maintaining the Lucretia Vale Museum, located in the Palmer Lake Library, with photos, articles, and artifacts from Palmer Lake, Monument, Black Forest, and nearby areas. Julie Haverluck of Silver Fox Farms present the rise and fall of fox farming as a major industry in the 1920s and 1930s, noting more than 75 fox farms in Douglas and El Paso counties in 1932. The first fox farm in El Paso County began in 1921 in Fountain, with northern El Paso County offering favorable climate, shade, and rail access for feed, supplies, and pelt export to eastern and foreign markets. The Black Forest Fur Farm later spanned about 1,240 acres with over 900 pens. By 1945 the fox industry declined due to World War II, a 20% excise tax, and changing fashion, signaling the end of the era, though the Black Forest Fur Farm site was later repurposed as the Black Forest Baptist Assembly Camp and later parts became Fox Run Regional Park. Colorado faces an ongoing mountain pine beetle outbreak linked to extra warm, dry conditions and mild winters, with other bark beetles also increasing statewide. The beetles target ponderosa pines and lodgepole pines, with outbreaks historically episodic but currently spreading from fire perimeter areas in the Black Forest. A mountain pine beetle task force was formed by Governor Polis on December 16, 2025, with 3 co-chairs from Colorado Department of Natural Resources, the Colorado State Forest Service, and the Division of Fire Prevention and Control. Early 2026 assessments show endemic infestations persist in western El Paso County and the Palmer Divide, while the 2022 to 2024 epidemic remains active in high-risk burn zones of the Black Forest. Prompt removal of infested ponderosas from 2025 is urged to curb exponential beetle growth, with specific guidance on identifying signs, pitch tubes and blue stain, and timing before June. Disposal options include removing trunks only, disposing separately, and using local facilities, Black Forest mulch site, Rocky Top Resources, with specified fees for private landowners. The safest way to attract hummingbirds is to offer fresh water and blooming flowers, as they remember reliable food and water sources and return year after year. Gardens should include ongoing or sequential flowering, with nectar-rich, tubular flowers like penstemon, agastache, bee balm, and cardinal flower. Colorado natives such as scarlet gilia, Rocky Mountain bee plant, and golden currant are highlighted. Hanging pots and vertical gardens provide safe, attractive habitats for hummingbirds, with nesting often occurring in hanging pots and benefits including fewer issues with bears, squirrels, and wasps. Vertical planters can be made from upcycled materials such as filled feed bags or seed bags, turned inside out for aesthetics, and burlap is an option though it dries quickly. Materials must be clean and food-safe for edible or hummingbird-safe plants. For growing food, rely on food-safe materials, proper soil, consistent watering, and safe amendments. Hydrogels can be used but quality potting mix with vermiculite, peat moss, or coconut coir is preferred to hold moisture, and a layer of organic mulch reduces evaporation. Absorbent bottom additives like hydrogels help prevent drying out, and good drainage is important. Tomatoes and climbing plants can grow downward in hanging planters, and organic mulch supports moisture retention. The article presents art as a biological necessity through the concept of nature-inspired murals, aiming to bring restorative forest experiences to bedsides and clinical spaces. It notes that forest bathing, Shinrin-yoku, reduces cortisol and heart rate while fostering a sense of awe, suggesting nature provides a restorative biological rhythm. Janet Sellers describes indoor murals that depict arching trees to create a canopy for bedridden patients, calling the approach the architecture of awe and focusing on trace memories of nature. The work draws on the Japanese concept ma, emphasizing silent, resonant space between objects to let viewers breathe, and uses canvas-based archive of those feelings. El Paso County launched a property protection program to alert owners when a document uses their name, with registration of multiple name variations and household members, though monitoring currently covers filings after enrollment only. The program directs owners to verify filings for legitimacy to prevent fraudulent deeds, and property records can also be reviewed in person at the county clerk and recorder's office. Residents can learn more or register via the Property Protection Program webpage, with additional information available at the provided link. Colorado wildfire preparedness resources are urged, including the Home Ignition Zone Guide from the Colorado State Forest Service, emphasizing fuel reduction around properties. The community is encouraged to enroll in secure accounts like Community Connect for Monument Fire District to aid emergency responders with information on special needs, pets, codes, and hazards. The notices also highlight ongoing safety topics: coyote safety, school bus laws with cameras, DUI compliance penalties, and local volunteer opportunities, including Tri-Lakes Care support and various county and state volunteer programs. Our Community News, OCN, offers interactive features on its website for posting questions and comments on articles, columns, letters, events, and podcasts. The site provides 2 audio options: brief AI-generated highlights and full verbatim readings, with 2 monthly podcasts featuring large animated subtitles. Podcasts can be accessed on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, but the best experience is on ocn.me/podcast.htm, where segment lengths are displayed and skipping is easy. The online calendar is now available at ocn.me/events, allowing search for events and easy addition to calendar programs. Short clips of local events are available on OCN's YouTube channel, with playlists at youtube.com/@ourcommunitynews. A free email newsletter and mobile/desktop app keep users informed with breaking news, alerts, and updates, plus personalized favorites and automatically updated content. Thank you for joining us for highlights from the articles and columns from this issue of OCN. To dive into the full articles and columns or explore more content, visit ocn.me. Don't miss out. Sign up for our community newsletter to stay updated with every new post.